keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me.
Hi, and welcome to this video where I want to talk about an article that I read some time ago where the recruiter was really struggling, venting actually, and was listing all of the problems that they had with hiring managers, ending it with, "So who's unprofessional?" I'm Catherine Moody, the author of Consultative Recruiter Playbook and Toolkit, and I think this is really important to recognize that hiring managers can drive us crazy. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but a lot of times it's because we've not helped them understand, showed them how to really play a role in the recruiting process. We can tell them, but I don't know about you, but people tell me lots of stuff that sometimes I just ignore, especially if they coach it with our process, right? Let's be honest. Most of us don't really care a lot about someone else's process, and hiring managers do really believe that recruiting is our job and that their job is to run their business or their function, and they're good at it. They're not always so good. So it takes two to tango, but you know what? The good news is it only takes one to change how a relationship is going. So let's talk about letting out that inner consultant. We can't wait for hiring managers to change. We can complain, rightly so. We can be frustrated, but that isn't going to change hiring managers. So in this article, this poor recruiter, you refuse to speak to us about what your requirements are. You refuse to give us feedback. You don't get back to us on a timely basis. You don't tell us what we need to know. That's just some of what this poor recruiter was struggling with. And most of us at one time or another have had similar kinds of relationships with hiring managers. But as I said, we can't expect them to change. Now, the good news is that when you adopt some changes in how you interact with them, we can get them started changing. And one of the key ways to do it is to ask questions. So if a hiring manager is not getting back to you with feedback, the way to take some control of this is to say, so after I send you a resume or a candidate, when do you think it'll work for you to get back to me with feedback? And then, another consultative recruiter principle, you must stop talking once you've asked a question so that they can answer. You don't need to justify why you're asking or what'll happen if they don't get back to you. They've heard all that before. So again, as I've probably mentioned on other videos, there are people who object to letting the hiring manager answer that question because they feel like they're giving up control. But let me just remind you that the person asking questions is controlling the conversation. And so the way to get hiring managers to start to modify the way they deal with you is to modify how you're dealing with them. We can't just assume they're going to change because we're frustrated, rightly so, as I've mentioned. So asking questions, all right? And if hiring managers are not getting back to you with feedback, then a simple conversation. The feedback is important. I'm really interested in what you're thinking, right? They will respond more likely when it is your request to know what it is that they're thinking. And avoid, if we don't get back to the candidate, we'll lose them. And again, they've heard all that before. It doesn't really move the needle very far. But what are your thoughts? No thoughts, no feedback. So, okay. So would it work for you if I send more of the candidates who are just like the ones I've sent? And find out what your hiring manager really wants you to do. And if hiring managers aren't giving you feedback, ask more questions. And if they're not giving you any feedback, you can always say, so until we have enough information to move forward, perhaps it would make sense for us to meet and make sure that we are meeting, or we should have a conversation to make sure that we're meeting your expectations. That will speed things up for you. What are your thoughts about that? And sometimes these questions are scary to ask, But I'm going to tell you that the more you ask these questions, one question at a time, make it a small one, and wait for them to answer, most hiring managers will figure out that they're going to have to behave differently. And it's going to be such a nice, gentle way for us to get them to behave differently. There's no lecture, there's no pushing back, there's just a gentle guidance through the use of questions. The one asking the questions is controlling the conversation. And I don't know about you, but I like the idea of controlling the conversation. So give it a shot. Let out that inner consultant. Ask questions to lead. Don't lecture. Don't tell them things they've already heard, because they will tune that out just the way they did the first, second, third, and 900th time they heard it. Take care. Be well. I hope that helps. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.